Hi guys, Ron here and welcome to the first episode of my time trial focus series. So if you haven't been tuned in earlier, then in this series I'm going to talk you through all the changes and preparation that I make in order to perform at my very best in 8 months at the Elite National Time Trial Championships. So this episode will be dedicated a bit to my bike and more specifically my drivetrain. So if you've watched my previous videos about the TT bike, then you know that I've been using a 1x setup with a SRAM red mechanical rear derailleur with an oversized pulley wheel system, SRAM 1190 return to center shift lever, and yeah, this is pretty much it in terms of the group set. And it worked flawlessly for the last 2 years. It served me really well. So why the change, and the change to what? So if you look at the bike, you can see that I've changed the group set to a SRAM red ep time trial group set. Well, part of it actually, because there's no front mag just yet. And there are a couple of reasons for that, but not your usual ones. So this upgrade won't make my bike any faster, any more aero, any lighter, but it will help with practicality in some crucial aspects. So normally the time trials that I do during the year, they're always the same. I know the courses, they're not very technical, and it's on roads that I already know, or just simple there and back courses. There's not much you can do wrong about that. So you don't really need, or you aren't really in for any surprises. Whereas a nationals course is always different. It's always in a different place. It's usually long and it can be very technical. So with that in mind, I decided to go for the electronic group set, and that's for a couple of reasons. So the first thing, base bar shifting. Now I've ridden a lot with only Aerobar shifting, and I've learned quite well to handle the bike and stay as much in the Aerobars as possible, which is of course very beneficial, but nevertheless in some terrain where you have lots of corners, accelerations, or just at the start or at the turnaround, you can definitely benefit from having shifting on your base bars, and particularly if it's on a new course that you haven't really ridden, or it's a technical downhill, then definitely it's very useful to have base bar shifting. And with mechanical, of course, you can't really have that. So that's one reason. The second reason is, well, the elevation changes. Now, I have Strava data from all of the time trials that I usually do, and I know exactly which gears am I going to need, and that's fine, and that's why I've only ever used a 1x setup, because I know exactly what's in for me. Is it going to be enough? Is the 58 going to be okay? Do I need to switch to a 54 or even a 50? Cassette 1128, 1132. I knew exactly what I was in for. Again, with the nationals, I don't really know. And if you have a mechanical drivetrain, you can't really just slap a front mech on. At least it's not that easy on a fully integrated time trial bike. Whereas with ETAP, you pull off the ring, put on 2 rings, put on the front mech, put on the chain, you're done. It's the same thing I do on my road bike, and it works very well there. So now I have the extra security or safeguard of a front mech in case I need it on the time trial bike as well. So yeah, that was another reason. This way I can't really be caught by surprise if I pre-ride the course and the 54 or the 58 aren't going to do it. Then I will have a front mag and a 55-42 time trial setup at my disposal, and I will be able to change that in basically 10 minutes. So that's another reason. Then the third reason, or third point, is UCI. You have pretty strict rules. They're getting stricter and stricter in terms of time trial positions, and particularly to the Aerobars. And if you have a mechanical shifter, it's a good 6-7 centimeters of components sticking out from your extension, and that limits basically your Aerobar or your extension position, because your position is measured to the tip of the lever. What I have here are ep clicks, which are super neat, super light action, and they add basically nothing to the length of the extension itself. So they're very handy in terms of dialing in your position. And of course, if you have no mechanical cable in there, a mechanical cable has to be exactly the precise length to adjust or so your gears work properly. And because of that, you don't really have too much leeway or room to play around with when moving your extensions around. The base bar is more or less fixed, but anyway, this way it's much freer. And also the fourth reason is connected to this. During the winter, or perhaps sometime in the spring, I really want to have my position fine-tuned and dialed in a wind tunnel or in a track aero test. And again, for that, with an electrical setup, you just unplug these wires. You can adjust your stack, adjust your reach very freely, very easily, without having to disassemble the complete bike and make your shifting bad. So yeah, it's just a much more convenient way for the time trial bike, at least. Some might say that the shifting action is much better with an electronic group set. Well, I have to disagree with that. If you have a very nicely dialed mechanical group set, it's going to be just fine, or more than just fine. It's going to be excellent. Of course, with electronic, you have the additional benefit of very light action. So when you're really pushing hard, you don't have to overcome the resistance of the mechanical lever. Yeah, it's just a little click. So maybe a bit easier in that sense, at least on the mind. Also, the shift logic of ep, pretty neat. Easy gear, harder gear, that's it. Of course, front mech, two together, press together. And how does it actually perform? Well, I've just ridden it today for the first time. Yesterday I put it together, and yeah, it performs as you would expect. Flawless shifting all the way. The base bar shifting, definitely a nice addition, although not super necessary on roads that you already know. And yeah, chain security, some might ask, how is that with ep? Well, if you have a narrow wide ring, there's not much to worry about. I've never dropped the chainring. You don't really need a clutch mech for the road, particularly with these bigger chainrings. Cassette wise, this is a short gauge cassette, short gauge rear mech, 1132 cassette, works just fine. The bead tension screw is just halfway in, so in case you're wondering about that, no problem whatsoever. You can also notice that this rear mech is still stock, which is rarely the case for me. And you might ask, well, is it going to stay this way? And no, it's not, but more on that later on. There's something a bit more special coming. So yeah, very satisfied with how it turned out. I've also adjusted my position a little bit to take advantage of basically the liberty that the shorter extensions give me. As for the installation, I've already done a couple of speed concept E-tab builds, so it was very straightforward. I knew exactly what to do, and I got it basically in an hour and a half, which might sound like a lot, but in a full integrated bike that's for a group set change, that's amazingly fast. So happy with that as well. I also managed to get it quite neat. I've done it the same way as before. So I've drilled this little top cap here, put the screw from underneath, which comes with the blip box, screwed it in, so no quarter turn stick-on mount like here. Cable's nicely tucked away, while I can still reach the blip box itself, shift from there in case something goes wrong. So yeah, pretty neat setup. I will also need to think about my Aerobars a bit. One of the viewers has kindly informed me about the new rule changes. So this one-piece armrest is no longer UCI legal. I'll have to split that apart, because you have to have two separate pieces for the hands, and also you can't really have an extension that has a cross-section larger than 4 centimeters. And I think that will apply to these mono extension as well, despite being a stock Trek unit. But Trek also sell a clamp that accommodates standard 22.2 extensions, so maybe I'll have to use that. I'm not really sure now. But yeah, so far so good. I'm happy with this change. And yeah, more things will arrive soon, so I'll keep you informed how my preparation and is going along, and how my bike is being changed and how my equipment is being changed. If you want to know more about that, then don't forget to tune into the channel and subscribe. It's all for today. Thanks for watching, and see you next time.